everyone, and welcome to another UKGN Network podcast. I'm Zoidberg. This week saw the full release of Dreams on PS4, which is something that has been available in early access since last April. It's a creation tool that gives players everything they need to make their own games and experiences, and then upload them online. The full release has also added a full single-player game called Art's Dream, which shows off just what can be achieved. In the 2 to 3 hours it takes to play through, you'll take in elements of point-and-click adventures, twin-stick shooters, 3D platformers and rhythm games. As an example of what's possible, it's excellent, even if it's something you'll likely only want to play through once. From shoot-'em-up construction kit on the Commodore 64, to Mario Maker, to Media Molecule's own Little Big Planet, gamers have had the chance to build and share their own creations with friends for years, but Dreams is the most complete and versatile package we've ever used. There are lots of excellent tutorial videos to help you get started, but even if you don't have the patience or the talent to make something yourself, the in-game library is filled with a huge array of other people's work for you to play. Almost every type of game you can imagine is already available, so you'll always find something to pique your interest. There's even a fantastic recreation of PT, for those mourning its disappearance from the PSN store. If you were lucky enough to pick it up at the reduced price in early access, you won't be charged extra for the full release either, but if you're of a creative disposition, the £35 asking price makes it well worth the look. Now it's time to shift our focus to Valentine's Day. There are many games out there that are perfect for couples to play together, as they share a box of chocolates on the sofa, but choosing the right one can be tricky. So let UKGN help you out, as we take a closer look at 5 of the best. Bubble Bobble, 1986. You can't beat a good single-screen co-op platform game, and to be honest, any one of Rodland, Snow Brothers or Parasol Stars could have happily taken this spot on our list. But Bubble Bobble is the one that we always come back to, and if we ever come across it in an arcade, we simply have to stop and play it. There's just something incredibly special about Taito's classic that means its appeal has endured for 34 years. It's bright, colourful and features some of the best music to ever accompany a game, but it's the gameplay that keeps us coming back. There are simply so many secrets and quirks that no two games are ever the same, and playing it with a co-op partner just heightens the fun. It also allows you to see the game's true ending, where Bub and Bob became human again and rescued their girlfriends. This only occurs if 2 players complete level 100 together. Castle Crashers 2008. With only their second game, the behemoth established themselves as one of the best indie developers around. Castle Crashers takes the basics of Golden Axe, and the developers added in a number of twists of their own that make it essential to play with a partner. Rather than simply dying, any downed player can be brought back into the game with the kiss of life, and upon rescuing each of the game's 4 princesses, you're forced to duel it out for her affection. The designers clearly knew that these type of beat-em-ups can get repetitive, so you're never more than a level away from a new gameplay idea or boss fight. It also helps that Dan Paladin's fantastic art and animation is a constant source of comedy, including some hilarious background detail and character moments. There's so many cute animals and discoveries to find that playing it over and over again is highly recommended. Portal 2, 2011. The idea of including a co-op mode in a Portal game was seen by many as unnecessary and pointless prior to the release of Portal 2, but that was before anyone had had the chance to play it. Featuring its own story that's separate to, but also complementary of, the one featured in the single-player game, you must work as a team to complete a series of test chambers under the watchful eye of GLaDOS, who will, of course, mock you in her own special way. Working out the solution to each puzzle together is immensely satisfying, and Atlas and Peabody, the 2 robots you inhabit, are surprisingly cute. Giving players the chance to communicate via a series of emotes, and even high five if stood close enough together, only serves to increase your desire to succeed. The peer review DLC added some more, even more complex levels to play through, and it was free on all systems, but PC owners have been treated to a constant supply of new levels from the community for the whole 9 years since its release. It's simply one of the best games ever made. Playing it together should be a Valentine's tradition.
Well done. Interesting.
Nintendo Land 2012. Competitive games are generally a no-no for couples. We've had many an argument caused by Tekken or Mario Kart in our lifetime, but the one exception to the rule is Nintendo Land. This selection of mini-games were all designed to showcase the capabilities of the Wii U gamepad, and playing the 3 competitive options, Mario Chase, Luigi's Ghost Mansion or Animal Crossing Sweet Day, against your partner remained fun because you could pass around the gamepad between rounds. This made it less likely that a single person would be doing all the celebrating. There's also some great single player options to take turns with, Our favourites are undoubtedly Yoshi's Fruit Cart and Donkey Kong's Crash Course. The best way to play together is to start the full attraction tour, which takes you through each game in turn. That way you never know what's coming next. Overcooked, 2016. The biggest gaming hurdle for any new relationship is the overcooked test. If your significant other can endure being screamed at because they're not chopping fast enough, ignoring the washing up, or messing up the orders, then you just know it's going to last, especially if they shout back at you. Working out the most efficient way to play each kitchen is a true bonding experience, and you can celebrate each success together. If you've never played our 2016 Game of the Year before, you're in for a treat, but make sure you play the first game and not its sequel. Some of the levels and features in Overcooked 2 ruined the experience for anything less than 4 players, making it an intensely frustrating title. It's not a terrible game by any means, just disappointing after the brilliance of the original. Now we move on to some new games with this week's reviews. Kunai is a fast-action pixel art platformer like we've seen dozens of times before. The colour palette is simple yet nicely conceived, with each section of the map having its own colour scheme, which makes exploration a lot easier. As is tradition, you'll obtain new abilities throughout that will allow you to reach other areas, but within the game's opening 20 minutes, you'll get the most important one, the kunai of the title. These are used to swing and climb around the environment at high speed, and make the game tremendous fun to play. There are a few small issues that hold it back from being essential though, like an unbalanced in-game economy where it takes too long to afford some upgrades, and some players will be upset about the lack of a map in the game's early stages. The main issue though is the sheer number of similar games that are currently available. If you've already played Hollow Knight, Iconoclast, The Messenger, Axiom Verge or any of the countless others we could mention, you might not want to play another one. It's a shame, as thanks to its unique visual style and some great design choices, this one will stand out from the crowd if you let it.
Let's get it on!
Cruz Brothers is a brand new fighting game that, according to the menu screen, is based on a true story, and the developers at DCF Studios have opted to tell that story with a 2D fighter and a series of hand-drawn comic book panels between bouts. These drawings are by far the best thing about this misjudged game, because the fighting itself would have been woefully inadequate 20 years ago. Fights generally end up as simple button mashing affairs, and there's an incredibly limited number of moves available. You can't even jump or crouch, just lurch back and forward and perform the occasional special move. We thought maybe there was something wrong, as no prompt seemed to do anything significant or different, so we tried choosing the tutorial, but all that offered was an explanation of each of the 4 main buttons and nothing more. Quite how the developers think console owners will be happy to pay £25 for this is anyone's guess, especially when the PC version is a quarter of that price. Time now to end our show with our regular look back at the games people were playing 10 years ago. There were a few games released on the 19th of February 2010, but by far the biggest was Aliens vs Predator. Developed by Rebellion, who had also made the original Atari Jaguar version way back in 1994, and published by Sega, this would go on to become the best-selling Alien game of all time. It followed the same formula as previous games, offering 3 campaigns for the price of 1, where you get to control a Marine, an Alien and a Predator respectively, although the Alien controls do take a little getting used to. In previous games, each character had their own story to follow, but here they intertwine with each other to create one single narrative, and it makes for a more enjoyable game overall, and one that's still fun to play today. On the multiplayer side, we found it to be a disappointment, with some pretty bland map design and a shortage of game types, and although this was rectified with 2 DLC packs, by the time they were released we didn't care anymore. We have a video of the game's opening level coming up to our YouTube channel this weekend. Keep an eye out for it. Did you play Aliens vs Predator? Tell us your memories of it and what you thought down in the comments. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. There will be another one just like it next Friday at the same time. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe so you don't miss it. You can keep up with what we're currently playing and talking about by following us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at UKGN Network. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye for now.